Hey there, this is Mr. Jung, and I am here to answer some questions about Khan. I've been getting quite a few, so I wanted to walk through the process of how you can go ahead, be able to log in, and how to know which assignments are quizzes and which ones are practice. So the first thing I'll show you here is how to log in. To do that, go to khanacademy.org. You should already at this point have logged into Google Classroom, so that way you're signed into Google. After you go to Google Classroom and you're signed in, go to khanacademy.org, click login, and we're going to tell it to continue with Google. It's going to pop up that window. That little window that just popped up was asking whether or not I was giving it permission, and I said allow already, so it didn't make me do that again. But if that pops up for you, click allow, and it'll ask you to do that like every 30 days. Now, the page that it brought me to when I logged in is the teacher page. Yours is going to look different. When you log in, it should look something like this. So here I've got assignments. If I click on courses, those are the courses that we signed up for at the beginning of the year. And then let's say you need to add me as a teacher. We'll go through that at the end, how to add teachers. But I want to talk specifically right now about the assignments. So with the assignments, here I'm showing what I've already assigned for algebra. So this is going to look different for 8th math, but it's the same concept. If you'll notice, there's a bunch of these little play buttons and stars. So there's videos you can watch. There's practice problems that you can do. If you notice, some of these, the titles are too long. And so if you hover over it and just let it sit there, this one, it's going to be another practice of multiplying monomials by polynomials. Again, I know that might not sound like anything you're familiar with, 8th math. It's what algebra is currently working on. But all of these lessons here, you'll notice they don't say quiz. But if we go to the next page and we start hovering over these, it gets to the first quiz. So this would be an example of the item that would be giving you an IB score. So if you want to go in and attempt the quiz first, you can do that. You'll notice that once you start the quiz, you click that, it pulls it up, give it just a second to load, and we can go ahead and start that. It should be noted, once you start a quiz, you can come in, you can exit out, be able to re-enter from where you started. But all of the practice problems that were given before were all of these lesson pieces. So whenever you're trying to find which one's the quiz, it's probably going to have the ... and you'll have to hover over it, and it'll say quiz 1. Again, it says open in a new window there. This next one starts into the next lesson. So every lesson for quadratic, this first quiz, is going to be all of the lesson pieces that come before it. Similarly, after that quiz, it goes into the second section. Here it's got practice problems. These are actually videos. You can tell by the play button. Here we've got practice, practice. Again, I know this one's not a quiz because when I look at the title, once I hover over it, it doesn't have quiz after it. It would say quiz or test. So here we can go through. This is all just practice, practice, practice. More practice here. And then finally it gets down to a quiz eventually. Here we've got quiz 2. And again, I know that one's a quiz, not just practice, because when I hover over it, the entire title shows up and it tells me that that's the practice. So everything from the first quiz that was shown to here, so all of this stuff and all of this are all lessons to help with this quiz right here. And then algebra's got a third one. So then when we go past that, we get all of these different practices. And then once it gets to the end here, we end up having a third quiz. Again, the way I know that that's a quiz is once I hover over it, it's got the word quiz next to it. So these little stars indicate that it's going to be practice problems, whereas here, when we look at the play button, that's going to be giving a video where they walk through examples, whereas here you can actually get practice, get the hints, and that sort of thing. So that's how you tell which ones are quizzes. Now, let's talk about what's expected from you when you're doing Khan Academy. The quizzes and the tests that are assigned definitely need to be attempted. That's what's going to be making up your IB score. If you get a 75% or higher on the IB portion on the quizzes, then you don't even have to worry about doing any of these practice problems. All right, but these practice problems are what you're going to be looking at to help you get that 75% once you want to go ahead and take that quiz. So I definitely recommend watching the videos. I definitely recommend doing the practice problems, using the hints, and also getting onto Zoom to ask questions about what Khan might be expecting of you. So there's basically two avenues that we could be taking with this. Under the first avenue, let me open up this other program here real quick. I don't know why it's not opening. Here we go. So there's basically two avenues. In the first option is get a 75% or higher on quizzes, and this will count for full participation as well as IB score. Option 2, do practice and attempt the quizzes, you'll need 3 hours of practice minimum if you do not score 75% or higher on every IB aspect, on every performance piece. Oh, I put option 1 twice. Option 2. So there's two options. The first one, like I said, get that 75% or higher on quizzes, and you get your full participation as well as IB score. And then that second option, you're doing your practice, you're doing the best job you can on those quizzes and tests. Make sure you attempt them, because if you do not attempt the quizzes and tests, that would go in as a 0 on the IB rubric. You don't want to have a 0 on the IB rubric. So make sure to attempt quizzes and tests. The other thing on that is that each day you will still need to log in for attendance on Google Classroom, just like we've been doing. There might be a quick math question. It might be a question about, it might literally just be saying, what questions can you come up with? But make sure you log in still and do that Google Classroom for attendance. Otherwise, that's how you log in to Google, or that's how you log into Khan Academy. And then that's how you can tell the difference between the quizzes and the assignments. Again, the assignments are optional, though they are there to help you do better on the quizzes. Let's say, for instance, somebody were to go in, they were to take this quiz here, and they got a 25%. Then what they would need to do is go back and practice these other skills that were involved on that quiz. So there's the practice problems. This is how you tell the difference between the practice and the quiz. Just hover over it. Real quick, I'm going to go into how to add a teacher if you do not have one. In order to add a teacher, once you're logged in, over here under my account, you can see where it says teachers. If I click on teachers, it gives me this option to add a class. All you need from there is to add the class code. If you want your class code, just email me or Miss London, whichever is your teacher, to find out what your code is, so that way you can be added to the class. Otherwise, if you have any other questions, please log in during Zoom hours or send emails. If you send an email, please make sure that you are specific about your question. Otherwise, we might end up sending each other a few messages before we find out exactly what it is that we're trying to solve. So That's all I have for you. And again, if you have questions, please log in during Zoom hours or send a specific email.